and we bought a $3 million tape, which allowed us to multiply our portfolio even faster by being liquid and becoming the bank rather than being a landlord.
Best ever listeners, before we get into today's episode, I want to mention Trevor McGregor. Trevor is a real estate results coach. I've been paying him and working with him for years now. He actually is responsible for giving me the idea to do a podcast. So it's not only about transactions that he gives advice on, how to find more deals, how to make more money, but also how to build a holistic plan around your real estate entrepreneurship endeavors. That's what I love about working with Trevor, that and being held accountable for what I say I'm going to do and actually making sure that I follow through and do it. I feel like I'm a pretty results-oriented, accountable kind of person, but it's always nice to have someone who's there guiding you along the way and giving you strategy as well as psychology tips for how to deal with, the things that come up as a real estate entrepreneur. Trevor has made a wonderful offer for the best ever listeners, and that is that he's offering a free coaching session. Go to coachwithtrevor.com. That's coachwithtrevor.com. Highly recommend him. I've worked with him before. I'm currently working with him right now as my business, as my real estate investing coach. Highly recommend you do the same. Take him up on his offer. Get a free coaching session. coachwithtrevor.com. Best ever listeners, hi, how's it going? Welcome to the best real estate investing advice ever show. I'm Joe Fairless, and this is a show where we cut out all that fluffy stuff. We don't do that. We get straight to the real estate investing advice that moves your business forward. We've spoken to many successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs, from Jay Papasan, the author of The One Thing with Gary Keller, who will come up in this conversation, I suspect, or at least his company will. We've spoken to Robert Corcoran from Shark Tank, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, author, financial guy whose book we've all read probably. And with us today, we have a successful real estate investor who's been investing for a while, as well as a jack of all trades, really, a general contractor, someone who has a brokerage, many different experiences in real estate and being incredibly successful along the way. How you doing, Sid Hameed?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Joe.
Yeah, great to have you on the show, my friend, and looking forward to our conversation. A little bit about Sid, and then I'll let him get into it in more detail. Sid's based near Annapolis, Maryland. He's been investing in real estate since 1989, does bank-owned property, single-family homes, does really a lot of different things. He's also a licensed general contractor, has built 2 apartment buildings, done some self-storage. He has also, as a real estate brokerage, merged with Keller Williams Group, thus the Jay Papasan, Gary Keller reference earlier. Merged with that group, and last year did $27 million of gross commission income. I wasn't familiar with that term until he shared it with me. And is doing a lot of different things, and looking forward to hearing what he's got going on right now. So with that being said, Sid, you want to give the best ever listeners a little bit more about your background and what you're focused on now?
Sure, no, absolutely. Hey, so we got started in 1989, started with my family, started buying houses, residential. And from there, I just, enjoyed the passion of construction and dealing with contractors and just being outside and not being in the office cooped up. So I just kept learning and kept feeding myself, kept learning and kept growing and taking a lot of training courses and investing a lot of money in personal growth. And I just started buying units. I just started buying 1, 2, 3. I did make some mistakes early on, but I learned from my mistakes quickly. And I just kind of grew. With my family, we bought, in 89, we bought 3. And then from there, we ended up buying 2 more and then 2 more. And then, in the last 27 years, I've been involved in close to almost 300 transactions in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We had as many as 55 rental properties. And then from there, I bought some land and done some development for apartment buildings, 4-unit and 12-unit. And then we also worked on the self-storage facility as well. And so I started to do my CCIM courses. to get into commercial, and I've done my introduction, and then I started to do my 101 and 102 classes for CCIM. And so now recently what I've done is merge my organization with Keller Williams International, because they already have the model that's in place to be a successful real estate investor, an entrepreneur, a business owner. And so I'm taking advantage of their platform and their training, education, and their processes in place to grow and scale my business to $50 million in 2016.
Well, I want to focus 99% of the conversation on your background and what you're doing now and learnings. But I do have a question about Keller Williams. What specifically attracted you to them versus other brokerages?
Well, the number one thing is mindset, right? So I had a chance to go through the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book about 6 times. I've gone through the Millionaire Agent Investor book that was created by Gary Keller. Is the mindset, right? So it's about, being in a soil where you could have your seeds to grow properly. And they've created a very good soil, a very good environment for training, for education, to be the success you want to be. They've created the models and the systems and technology in place for you to follow. And I really like the whole approach of, waking up and meditating and spending time with the wife and the kids, and then having a whole work balance, personal balance between personal wife and kids and business. So I really like the mindset and the energy that they've developed, outside of other firms such as Exit, Remax, and Coldwell Bankers. And I had a chance to look at their models as well, but I really felt the energy and I felt like it was the right soil for me to go into Keller Williams.
All right. Thank you for that. I was just curious. I've heard a lot of good things about Keller Williams recently and from guests, and I was just curious about that. So let's talk about, you mentioned I think you said you had at one time 55 rental properties. Do you still have 55? If not, where are you at right now?
So right now, we got rid of a lot of them because, rental properties is not the way to really make passive income. And so it became more of a headache. And so we're down to about 5 rental properties now.
Okay. What happened? From 55 to 5, that's obviously a huge difference. So what happened with those properties?
Well, we just sold them off, and then we took the cash and became liquid. And then from the liquid position that allows to get a higher yield on going into other areas of real estate, such as buying non-performing notes. So we went and bought some non-performing notes from asset managers, and we bought a $3 million tape, which allowed us to multiply our portfolio even faster by being liquid and becoming the bank rather than being a landlord. So it's a totally different position from being a bank and having the mortgage rather than you being a landlord where you got the tenants paying you rent. And so, we prefer being on the non-performing note side where we control the asset and we control the mortgage.
You said you bought a $3 million tape? Is that what you said? Tape?
Yeah, tape.
T-A-P-E?
Yeah, it's a tape. So
what's that?
When you're dealing with hedge funds out of New York and Miami and so forth, what happens is when Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, some of these larger hedge fund organizations, the assets get into a defaulted position. And then if you're part of some of their groups, you could actually go in and buy a tape. So you could buy a tape of 3 million, 5 million, 20 million. And inside that tape, you could have properties all over the United States of America. So one of the things we narrowed our search down to are certain states like Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, California. And then we started to pick up assets in these areas based on their foreclosure law, based on their laws of, evicting people, doing a loan workout with the people there. And we excluded other states like New York and Philadelphia and New Jersey because their turnaround time is such a long time to foreclose on people and to get them out of the properties. So that's what we've done. We basically changed our model from being a landlord to becoming the bank. And that's one of the reasons why we got rid of a lot of the assets.
Okay. And I just Googled the word tape in the context of what you're saying, and just for the best ever listeners and myself's education, if you didn't know it, it's the spreadsheet that all the loans are on that are for sale. That's what a tape is, T-A-P-E, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yes, exactly. So the tape will consist of, they have about 30, 40 categories. So they have the first mortgage, the second mortgage. Is it occupied? Is it vacant? What was the original loan amount? What's the current outstanding liens, the current outstanding penalties, fees, if it's been paid for 3 years, 4 years. So it kind of gives an understanding of where that particular loan is. And then from there, we do our own analytics, our own research to pick and cherry pick the assets that we want to go after that gives us the highest yield.
When did you have 55 total properties? What year?
That was pretty much basically from 1989. We started accumulating stuff and all the way up to like 1995, 97.
Okay. And then in 1997, you made the decision that this wasn't for you anymore. Do you remember that moment in time when you wanted to divest and get into non-performing notes and become the bank versus landlord?
Well, we started to see our time value of money. We started to see where our time was being, invested, and dealing with the calls, the toilets, the refrigerator is broken, the air conditioner is broken, dealing with all these nuances, and then dealing with the turnover. And then so even if you made, let's say $500 a month, and then you had a turnover, and then you had to replace the carpet and paint this and this, and then when you took all the expenses of that asset at the end of the year, then you really noticed that you really didn't average out the yield that you really wanted to make. So that started to happen across the board. So we wanted a yield of at least 18, 19, 22% yield on our money, and we weren't seeing that. So, and then if you look at the time and energy and the cost of, maintaining those rental properties, it didn't make sense any longer. So we started to look at different areas of where we have to put in less time, less energy, less headache, deal with less, phone calls, and then become the bank. Because when you're the bank, if the refrigerator breaks or the toilet doesn't work or the AC doesn't work, you don't call the bank and put in a service call. You still have to make your mortgage payment. So that's where the transition started to transform into. That's where it happened.
Were you managing it sounds like you're managing all 55 yourself, or your family was?
Yeah. So what we had done was we had put like American Home Shield. We put a servicing company on every single rental property. So we educated the tenant to contact the American Home Shield company for any type of repairs. Then they coordinated what time the technician came to the house. And so then the tenant would pay the first $60 for the technician to come out to service whatever was broken. And so we put that into our lease agreements. So the first 3 service calls would be paid by them, and then anything after that would be paid by us.
I'm going to switch gears now. I'm going to go to the apartment building. When were you the general contractor who built an apartment building?
That was in 2003, 2004. We were hired by an investor, basically some of the investors that we work with. We found the property and we basically wholesaled it to them and made a $50,000 spread on the wholesale transaction side. And then since my guys weren't really busy at that time, we ended up going in there and just doing the renovation work on that unit as well, and then made the money on the construction side as well.
It was a pre-existing property, and then you did the renovations, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't building from the ground up. It was the renovation.
Yes.
Okay. With the renovation, how much were they putting into it per unit?
Well, so this first one we did, it had 4 doors. So basically we had to put in a stackable washing machine dryer. We had to create a little laundry room. We had to put in, a different boiler system where it could feed the control, the heat and the air conditioner for each unit. So they were putting in anywhere from $22,000 to like $26,000 per door. And some were worse than others, and the other ones were, so that's what we did. We new hardwood floors, new basic appliances, new countertops, new toilets, paint jobs, some crown molding, ripped out the old doors, put in some 6-panel doors, and some tile work in the bathroom.
What'd you learn from that?
What I learned from that is I'd rather manage one unit with 4 doors than manage 4 doors spread out all over the city, right? Rather manage one building that has 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 doors, 20 tenants, and you collect all your stuff from one area. So once again, time value of money, right? So I'm always looking at time, and I'm always managing time, and I don't like to waste time, and I like to make sure my time is being invested properly. So what I learned is having these units all under one central area is much better than having 55 rental properties all over the city running from back and forth, dealing with traffic.
And then you've also gotten into storage units. What was your role there?
So with the self-storage, once again, we found a unit that the owner was getting out of the business. We picked it up for about 48 cents on the dollar. And then we found an investor to come in and put in the EMD money. We wholesaled that transaction. We made about $70,000 on the front end. And then we went in there and we painted it and fixed the concrete and fixed the hardware and just got it back to, active portfolio, back to an active income producing property.
And when you said EMD, will you explain that acronym?
The earnest money deposit. So we got the investors to put in the earnest money deposit. So we didn't come out of pocket with anything. So we made money on the wholesale transaction. We got the investor to put up the money, and we made money during the work, and we made an equity position on the back end. So we got paid all the way throughout the transaction.
With when you're doing self-storage renovations, what's something that you've got to keep in mind that's unique to self-storage?
Security. You got to make sure you have the proper security, cameras, security, access panels, who's coming, who's going. Make sure you got the ledgers. Make sure the technology is working. Just security, securing people's content, making sure it's protected, making sure you got the right cameras and the right operable, the manager that's going to be running the facility. Make sure somebody that has experience and knowledge to be there and be vigilant and seeing what the hell's going on.
Now, I've heard from a guest on a recent episode. They said that self-storage has the lowest number of defaulting loans out of any type of asset class in real estate. Have you, and I don't know if that's true or not, but if so, then it supports, well, I don't know if it supports this time management or time of value of money approach, but nonetheless, that's interesting. My question is, with self-storage, it is less management intensive than apartment buildings. Did you start looking at that as an investment method or means, or did you go straight to non-performing notes and become in the bank?
Well, we do all of them. So we deal with self-storage now. We deal with apartment buildings now. We deal with non-performing notes now. We have our real estate brokerage, which we merged with Keller Williams. So we're constantly still involved in looking for deals and transactions in these areas. So it's not like we've turned one thing off. We're still out there looking and beating the bushes and creating the right relationships with the right people in the right position to find the right deals. So we're constantly looking and moving our money around. It's the movement of money which allows us to make money. So we're constantly moving our portfolio and our money to get the highest yield. So self-storage has the highest yield and the least amount of headache and the least amount of manpower that you have to put into it because it's self-contained. And the people going into their content to get their facility, to get their equipment, it's just an access card. As long as they got the access card and the technology is working and the gates are working, then you only need one human to really manage the facility with the right security cameras and stuff. So self-storage will give you the highest yield.
So if it has the highest yield and the least amount of headache, why not really go all in on self-storage?
Well, it's a matter of finding them. Everybody's looking for them. Everybody's looking for this stuff. So it's about finding the right relationship, finding the right owners that are motivated, that are in a transactional, where they're moving on, they're retiring, or whatever the case is. So it's about finding those motivated folks and then trying to get to the deal. I would love to just rotate my money, in that area, but you never want to put all your eggs in one basket either. So we're always looking. We're always looking for stuff.
Sid, what's your best real estate investing advice ever?
It's to find the right people to work with. It's all about relationships. It's about having trusted people around you, trusted people in your inner circle, people that would deliver what they say they're going to do, and work with experienced folks that have proven themselves and that they have systems, they have technology, they have processes, they have accountability, and you cannot waste time with the wrong people. You cannot waste time with the wrong people.
How do you determine if it's the wrong person? How do you, what questions do you ask, or what things do you pick up on?
Well, the first thing is character. You really have to look at the person's character, and you really have to look at the person's belief and, how spiritual are they? I mean, is it all about money, or do they have a bigger contribution in society and life? And so the way I live is, through experiences, through growth, and through contribution. So we're always giving back to, tithing. We're always giving back to our local communities, and it just, just being around the right people, and you'll feel them out in time. You're not going to know the first week, the first 6 months. In time, you can feel them out. It takes time to feel people out.
You ready for the best ever lightning round?
Sure.
All right. First, a quick word from our best ever partners. Did you achieve all your real estate goals in 2015? Well, if you did, congratulations. Fist bump to you. If you didn't, then go to coachwithtrevor.com. Trevor McGregor is my business coach, my real estate coach. He's also been a guest on the show, episode 320. He is offering a free coaching session for the best ever listeners. Just go to coachwithtrevor.com and it'll help you to achieve your real estate goals in 2016. Do you want to make your investment analysis a breeze while making it look like you spent all week working on it? Then go to getrefm.com/valuate. That's getrefm.com/VALUATE. This is Bruce Kirsch's company. He's the best ever guest from episode 128. The episode's titled Crash Course on Financial Modeling for Real Estate Investing. Go to his company's website. Get the software. You can try it out for free. It's a no-brainer. getrefm.com/valuate. Best ever book you've read?
Basically, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller's book. I read it 6 times, and my goal is to read it 20 times.
How come?
I really believe it has all the answers that a successful investor needs, from scaling a business, from creating the right mindset, recruiting the right talent, finding the right talent, putting them in the right position, and they're just utilizing their technology and their systems that they've already created.
Best ever deal you've done?
The self-storage deal. We made money on the wholesale side on the front end. We made money doing the construction side, and then we had an equity position on the back end. So we made money on the back end as well.
Best ever personal growth experience, and what'd you learn from it?
Becoming more spiritual, becoming more internalized, getting closer to God, and just becoming grateful for what I have and appreciating what I have, and just having that personal growth to realize, it's more than money. It's about contribution, and it's about touching and influence other people.
On that note, what's the best ever way you like to give back?
I just share my knowledge, share my expertise, help people grow and scale, help people avoid mistakes, help people get to that $100 million mark, whatever their dreams, their goals are. It's possible. It's hard, but it is possible. And I like to encourage people, and then let them see the unseen. Let them go into the unseen and believe in themselves and start from there.
What's the best ever way the best ever listeners can reach you?
They could reach me at Sid Hameed at brickfrontproperties.com. That's Sid Hameed at brickfrontproperties.com. Or they can call my office at 240-764-5347.
What's the biggest mistake you've made so far in real estate?
The biggest mistake that I made is I got involved in the wrong partnership, and I was looking at the deal and looking at the money and not at the individual's character, and I got taken from that deal. So just making and creating wrong relationships could really cost you a lot of money.
Can you quickly tell us a story on that?
Yeah, quickly. The story was I had this other investor that had a transaction which fell through. On their side, their buyer backed out, and they needed a quick investor to come in and drop $100,000 into a transaction to keep the transaction alive. I didn't take the right time and the energy to really do the due diligence on that individual and on the deal. And because of being greedy and not doing the right due diligence and not putting the right time to really research and verify and validate, I got burned.
Sid, this has been a wonderful conversation, learning about your experience dating back to 1989 when you bought your first property and your family was well on your way to buying more and more, and then determining that at that point you wanted to become the bank. In 1997, around. You want to become the bank and not the landlord. So you focus on where is the best time value of money and where can I make the best returns based on that. The second thing that I took away from this is the security importance for a self-storage facility. You said that's the number one learning that you had whenever you were doing the renovations of the technology and the security, because really, as you mentioned, self-storage, you can manage them with a relatively small number of people hours. So it's really what type of systems do you have in place. And the third thing would be on your best ever advice, the importance of looking past just what their potential partners are saying, but really, do they have a larger contribution? And I think that's important, because if they have a larger contribution, then they're going to be in the business a lot longer, because it's going to be aligning with their needs, who they are as individuals. And you want to have not only short-term transactions, but long-term relationships. And I think you set yourself up really nicely by approaching it that way. So thanks so much for being on the show, sharing your advice with the best ever listeners, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a best ever day.
Thank you very much, Joe. Take care.
Did you achieve all your real estate goals in 2015? Well, if you did, congratulations. Fist bump to you. If you didn't, then go to coachwithtrevor.com. Trevor McGregor is my business coach, my real estate coach. He's also been a guest on the show, episode 320. He is offering a free coaching session for the best ever listeners. Just go to coachwithtrevor.com and it'll help you to achieve your real estate goals in 2016. Do you want to make your investment analysis a breeze while making it look like you spent all week working on it? Then go to getrefm.com/valuate. That's getrefm.com/VALUATE. This is Bruce Kirsch's company. He's the best ever guest from episode 128. The episode's titled Crash Course on Financial Modeling for Real Estate Investing. Go to his company's website. Get the software. You can try it out for free. It's a no-brainer. Getrefm.com/valuate.